Hola chicos, en este video vamos a hablar del cuento que estamos leyendo que se llama El Loro Pelón o El Lorito Pelón. And we talked about that difference the other day, ito meaning little or cute. Pero el enfoque de este screencast, este video, es los tiempos verbales. We're going to talk about verb tenses. Porque en este momento, right now, we really are working with 3 different verb tenses at least. So, vamos a ver estos tiempos verbales en el cuento. So, we need to be familiar with them. So, let's take a look at a quote, a paragraph from the story. Y este párrafo empieza aquí y dice, pero el lorito estaba cada vez más triste. Y aquí tenemos un lorito triste en esta foto. Y no sabía qué hacer. Un día trató de huir. Tomó el impulso, agitó las alas y ¡paf! Por poco se mata al chocar con el cristal de la ventana. Y aquí tenemos una foto de eso, ¿no? Es un pájaro que choca con la ventana y puede causar problemas, ¿no? So, in this paragraph, we have 3 different verb tenses, and they're shown in color here. So, the first 2 are in green. We have estaba and sabía. Now, we should know that those are the imperfect tense. We look at estaba with the aba on the end and sabía with the ia on the end. These are 2 verbs that we can recognize as was and knew. And so with these verbs here, we have aba, ar ending, and ia, er and ir ending. So we know those verbs. Now, the other ones that we see here are these ones. Trató, tomó, and agitó. Now, if we look at these verbs, they have something in common. First of all, they're in red, which is how I illustrated them. And they all end in this O accent. So we can look at these verbs and see what this ending is, just this O ending, and we can find what their infinitives are. The infinitive of this verb is tratar, which means to try. The infinitive of this verb is tomar, which means to take. And the infinitive of this verb is agitar, which in this case does not mean to agitate, it means to flap, like to flap his wings. And these verbs are all in a different tense called the preterit tense. And all of these verbs are talking about el loro. The subject of them all is the parrot. So el loro trató de huir, el loro tomó el impulso, el loro agitó las alas. Listen to the pronunciation. Trató, tomó, agitó. The accent's on the last word, that's why there's a stress there on the last letter, excuse me. And finally we have this one, mata, which is in the present tense. We're not going to spend too much time with that one. So, tenemos aquí el imperfecto y tenemos aquí un tiempo verbal que se llama el pretérito. It's called the preterit tense. So what is the difference? They're both past tenses. The translation of this is roughly, but the little parrot was more and more sad. He didn't know what to do. Okay, that's description in the past, ongoing action. And then we get to this part, it says, one day he tried to escape. He took the initiative and he flapped his wings. And those things are all actions that happened quickly in the past. And that's kind of what the preterit does. So, vamos a practicar un poquito. Vamos a practicar un poquito. Let's practice a little bit. On this next slide we have the preterit tense. And this is information that I do want you guys to take down in your screencast notebooks. So preterit tense is used for actions that began and ended in the past. So we have the examples from the story that I've kind of changed a little bit. The verb tratar means to try. We have el loro trató de huir. He tried to escape. Preterit tense. Tomar, to take. El loro tomó impulso. He took action. Literally he took impulse, but here he took action. Agitar, to flap. El loro agitó las alas. He flapped his wings. All of these actions, I know it sounds weird, but they began and ended in the past. They didn't go on for a while. They're not descriptions. They're not used to. Just began and ended in the past. Okay? So we have one ending for all these, because just like every other verb tense, we're dealing in endings. And our ending for this is just O. And this is our, if you want to get sort of specific, third person singular ending. We use that for él, ella, and usted. In this case, we're going to use it for el loro, who would be an él. It's a he, right? The parrot. So vamos a practicar. Now we've seen this a little bit. Let's practice a little bit. So aquí tenemos entonces. So after what we've seen and what we've learned, ¿cómo se dice? How would you translate these sentences? All of these sentences have a verb in them that are going to be translated in the preterit tense using the same ending that we saw in the last slide. So these endings here, the O ending. So we have okendo raised. Here's our verb. This, by the way, is in our vocab sheet. If you don't know what the verb is, it's in the vocab sheet that I gave you, or you can look it up. We have bought from the verb to buy. Escaped. We saw huir, H-U-I-R, but I want you guys to use this verb because it's an AR verb. And we have the parrot removed, which is the verb quitar, which also comes from the story. And then we have arrived. So all of these are AR verbs. You should know bought and arrived, but if you don't, you can look any of them up in the dictionary. What we're going to do now is we're going to translate these sentences in our screencast notebook. So you may want to just pause it here, and in your notebooks, just give me a translation of all these sentences. Your translation should include the verb, and please underline the verb for me. This is our first practice with the preterite tense, which is kind of going to come from this story and is our next unit. Okay, so muchas gracias por su atención. Nos vemos en clase. Be sure to have these notes all in your screencast notebooks organized, keep it neat. Any questions, I'm happy to answer them next class. Bueno, chao.